Hey guys, welcome to another segment of class Charismatic Lifestyle Academy for Sophisticated Socialization. That's a mouthful, but those that are actually interested in following me on Twitter and knowing when I have new content every month, sometimes bi-weekly, follow me on Twitter at Brycon_raw, as well as Instagram at Brycon_raw. Thanks, cheers, stay tuned. Alright guys, so basically what we've been talking about has been the internal mechanisms of charisma. Now, what we have been doing is kind of understanding the purpose of charisma and how the science of our predispositions from our genes influence who we are. Now, we also have personalities and these behaviors that come with our personalities. Now, what we're doing is kind of showing the elements of charisma. Now, of course, we were talking about power, presence, and warmth. This is going to be a little bit more different because it's kind of going to tie into what are vocal elements, such as, earth, water, fire, metal, and air, as we talked about in a prior video that I had a long time ago. So basically what I'm going to do is start with earth. So earth is basically a focus charisma that we have. It's the presence, and basically you're looking at how these individuals are very concentrated. They have this good listening skills with their attention, and basically sometimes they're so in tune with what you're saying that it kind of seems like you're drawn into them, even though they're not saying anything. So what they've said before is that a good listener is a good speaker with a sore throat. Now these individuals, specifically the earth genre, they kind of follow this responsibility transfer, right? And this basically is kind of holding their responsibilities to a higher power. So there's no burden, because most oftentimes what happens is that there's so much going on in life and you can't control everything. So what you do is just you let it be as it's supposed to be. It allows you to have the ability to just forgive yourself, right? Or just not worry about what's going to happen. These individuals also delve into the emotions and allow themselves to kind of feel what anxiety or emotion they're feeling, and then kind of just control the situation there. So for example, when you're dealing with difficult situations or people, you'll have emotions that kind of come up. And of course, we were talking about presence, and this entails controlling our thoughts, emotions, and reactions. So a reaction is to lash out. But what they do is they delve into the situation, they kind of name that emotion that they're feeling, and then they control the situation. So they'll pace and then they lead. So it's more subtle and slower, so it's not anything that you want to do when it comes to emergencies, or when you need to have specific and immediate results or responses. Next, we're looking at air, and these individuals are visionaries. Basically, they see what others can't and they inspire others. A great example would be Steve Jobs. And basically, these are natural thinkers, not the most liked individuals, because if you've seen any of the movies kind of depicting the biography of Steve Jobs, he's not the most liked person. So what these individuals do is basically they are comfortable with discomfort. And as humans, we have a discomfort with uncertainty. And these individuals are so creative and calm and bold, and they're sensory rich. The way that they talk, like you'll see Steve Jobs basically get his phone and just see how smooth it is and how intelligent, the black, the gold, the silver, and we taste it. We taste what he's saying. And basically what they do is kind of just paint a picture for us. Air, those that believe and yet not seen kind of idea. Next, we're looking at the water individuals, the genre of people who have this kindness and warmth. So, as we were talking about voices, basically, we have the earth voice, which is very low, like dopey, but is grounded. And then we have the air, which is kind of above our heads, almost like a whisper. The warm kindness of the water voice that we have basically is kind of empathizing and sympathizing with the emotions of others, right? They melt the hearts of others. They make others feel cherished, welcome, and basically embraced, right? So the greatest strengths that these people have is the willingness and the practice that they're willing to put in as well. So sometimes what they do is they're very forgiving on themselves and what other people do as well. So metta is a practice that I've talked about before, and it's basically forgiving what you've done. So you've done something bad, you think about an individual that is very ideal to you. It could be Jesus, it could be Gandhi, MLK, JFK, or something like that. And you look through their eyes and you're forgiven. And you feel that. You can feel the energy. And we were talking about magnetism. So anytime that you feel like you're not worthy, forgive yourself for that, because that's human. It is human to err. So we also have the ability to kind of look at individuals and see it from their perspective. Why do people act the way that they do? So of course we were talking about the earth genre and how they kind of empathize with them because they delve in the situation and kind of slow it down. This is a little bit different because what they're doing is they put themselves in the other person's position, in their shoes. And what this allows them to do is basically understand, if I went through the same situation, through the same life, I would do the same thing. And that, makes it a little bit more easier because, people will say, thank you, you've made my day. And basically what you're trying to avoid is being so critical, the criticism, the coldness, the sarcasm. It's completely cut out. Do not be sarcastic when you talk to people, especially when you're trying to convey this water element. Finally, what we're looking at is the fire. And this is authoritative. And these individuals are more about confidence and status, and most likely the least liked. And that's just the truth, because these are your bosses, your managers, the top of the top, creme de la creme. And these individuals take space, very powerful. You can see it in their clothing, the way that they walk, they talk, they even talk less. Think about a negotiator, an investigator, an interrogator. And basically being able to talk slower, people are listening to you more. So there's less fidgeting and less verbal fillers. And of course, I'll kind of go into a little bit of what kind of entails this anti-charismatic, what you would call demeanors, such as tapping pens, playing with your clothing, etc., etc. Now, this is very similar to Olivia Fox-Cabane's, focus, visionary, authoritative, and kind charisma, as well as what we've seen with Tony Alessandra, the thinkers, the dominant individuals, the socializers, and the relators. Now, respectively, the earth would be the focus, as well as the relators. The air would be the thinkers, as well as the visionaries. Water would be socializers, and the kind charisma, the warm charisma. And then finally, last but not least, the fire would be the authoritative and the dominant figures. Now, of course, if you're a little bit more interested in what relators, thinkers, dominant individuals, and socializers do, it's basically just the word that they kind of convey. So dominant individuals are dominant, they're authoritative, very focused. Socializers are thriving off the energy of other people, and they love a challenge. Thinkers are more introverted for the most part and are very meticulous. They like their routines. And relators basically find methods to relate to other people. And what they said is, there's not one relator that I haven't liked. So basically, this gives you an idea of what kind of charisma you can kind of convey in certain situations, especially when it comes to a necessary point in your life to make a decision, especially if you need to fire someone, you would take an authoritative figure. Or if you needed to empathize someone who lost their family member, you would be more inclined to be kind. And of course, the elements, elementary, what we're calling, is kind of going back and forth with the voice and the unconscious communication that we have with our charisma. I know this is a lot, of course, but if you've seen my videos, it would kind of make a little bit more sense. But just to kind of give you an overview, basically we have earth, air, water, and fire. And earth is more focused, air is more visionary, water is more kind, and fire is more authoritative. And that's basically all you need to know, because as soon as you know what fire does, what water does, what air does, and what earth does, then you can just adopt that. And basically, the internal mechanisms of what it is to be that kind of charisma, that element of charisma, will be easily and readily accessible to you. Alright guys, so I'm out and about what I just talked about.